They
I'm not fully into it, but I'm just from a business and strategy perspective, I work with them and talk to
give
them.
me an opportunity and I'll find a way to talk about mushrooms.
For sure.
But it's a species that feeds on termite mounds, and they're very high in protein as a result. The intersection between mushrooms and insects is really an important one. I've just been putting a lot of our spent substrate down in my new yard and just seeing like all the insect life, just tiny little jumping spiders and all kinds of weird cocoony things that you find in there. That's
we
pretty
do
cool.
we do need just like a full-on meetup week, mushroom week, for Tyler to be able to talk. Definitely, this is like
I try to use this as my opportunity to think about stuff other than mushrooms, but okay.
Yeah,
I think you're right. That would be cool.
Let's not do that. So we are talking about C4C. Newman, welcome. I see you're having your breakfast. I'm trying to finish up some I've got halfway through my caffeinated tea. So we have a choice what we want to talk about today. If it's Andre, you've got an agenda though. You need something done with accounting, right? And tasks. So I'm going to go grab my paper here. It's my little notebook, and I heard the frog again yesterday. So, we're just coming out of winter and we've got ponds and quite a bit of water around here. In years past, I didn't hear the frogs. Now I've got a little pond where they actually grow and croak, 3 males competing for the 1 female, then the tadpoles. It's actually a lot of fun. And it's like, yep, spring is coming because I heard the frog again yesterday. So these are the important things I write down in my diary, not tasks. I don't record those kind of things. It's like, 4 hours later, what did I do? Oh, okay. That's my task list, and how I operate. So good luck, Andre and George. My God, I don't know how you deal. I don't know how you deal in project management with flighty butterflies like myself. Like, how do you do that? I don't know. Andre, go ahead though.
We just need to figure out if I look at the budget items you guys made in the proposals, it looks like you calculated them. Like I don't know, do you know who made those calculations? Because if I look at the weekly meetings and the monthly events, it looks like it was calculated.
They're just such a weird number, right? Well, here's my secret, you guys.
Weird numbers.
Because guess who wrote those proposals? It was me. And a person that doesn't, I don't do accounting like that. I don't do tasks. And it's like, well, what's a fair price for this? I'm a farmer. I deal on what you get and you make that work. Figuring it out from the bottom up, I can't do that. So what I did was I took some Fibonacci numbers and added them up. So they look like they're calculated. I'm so sorry.
Yes.
But they are,
no,
that's my secret, is I thought it sounded like a fair amount and they add up to some pretty fantastic numbers, and that's what it is. So there's the secret of the budget. Whenever I make it, it will have something to do with Fibonacci numbers because they build up on each other like the snail. They build up, and I feel like that's what we do. A lot of the little things we do are very, very small. Some things are a lot bigger. They're the Fibonacci number 2 or 5, and then they just keep building up into something, into these bigger projects. So that's how that works.
Yes. Okay.
So we get to determine. Yeah.
Yes. We can figure it out now. I think for the weekly meetings, we can look at the core people, obviously you and Yoram and Nori and Simon, and decide how much each of them get and leave an amount available for extra participants. So if someone contributes during the meeting, we can use some of that extra allocation and pay them. Just make a note at each meeting. So
Yeah.
we pay the core members a fixed amount, and we leave an extra allocation for extra participants that contribute, something like that, maybe.
Sounds fantastic. So, and we can do it on percentages too. You know, I was always imagining this too, that there's going to be one meeting where Yoram does more than I do. He did more than I did at this meetup, for sure. You know, at this point. But it's very hard to decide. You know, like, oh, I did 3 hours. I did 47 tasks. I did. You know, how do you decide that? How do you make it fair? And I'm wondering about a percentages, you know, just like the meeting is 100%. And if we put a percent aside, 25% for participation, does that sound fair? You know, would that work? So even if it's $10, $2.50 goes towards participation, and we divvy that up whichever way. If somebody wants to be rewarded for participating, say, hey, you know, I want a piece of that pie. If they don't care about it, they say, no, I'm good. I don't need any, you know, split it up between you. But we can, if we could work some way based on our own needs. Maybe there's one day that I just think, you know what, I was pretty distracted during the meetup. Yeah, I was here, but you know, I really definitely don't deserve, in my heart, I don't deserve this full amount. I'm good with less, you know, that we could actually, does that complicate it though? Or do we just, is it easier just to do fixed and just go, you know, if you're facilitating, this is what you get. If you're co-hosts, you know.
That makes it easier. But
yeah,
you can experiment if you want.
Yeah,
you
so
know,
let's keep it with a fixed that can be flexible, but start with fixed, because I know myself, dealing with myself can be very complicated. I don't want other people to have to do that, right? So okay, so
I'm just gonna make
starting point should be more
amounts.
like fixed, I would say. Yeah, and then you can evolve it. Yeah, it's easier to baseline.
Yeah, well, that's it.
Yes, makes sense.
This was a fixed number, you know, like it was the number in the budget was a fixed number, and then we can work on that, you know, and how that gets divvied out per event or per meeting. Yeah, because that was the meetups. We had the budget for the meetups and we had the budget for the events. Tyler was the main host, the main guy for the last event. I'm hoping we can include that in our as part of our Fund 7 funding. I'm not sure how that works with the deadlines, you know, because the funding started at a day after that event. Now we're going into the event number 4. And we, so I think the promise, if I'm not mistaken, was that we are doing 10 events in 12 months. Are we allowed to include previous events? Sorry, as soon as I say that, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like it's.
I'm looking at the proposal now, and it says here each monthly event, 3 events at some amount, but obviously you can be flexible. I think it's fine if you want to.
Well, that was one of the pressure. Okay, so now here we have this. It was the pressure to have our event in March. We ended up switching it to a Twitter event, which is part of the other one. I don't really know that we're going to be able to fit in 2 more events, but maybe let's make that really clear that we went with a Twitter account in the main event and then another big event. So we're going to have the Twitter event is going to be a smaller budget, and then the regular budget for the next event. And then the second big event, we do, actually it might work because we're actually doing 2 Twitter spaces before the main event. And in some ways, those
Okay.
are kind of the same as an event. So we'll probably have, so we made a pivot. We're going to be doing the Twitter spaces before the events. Those will be considered one event. The same as one event, and then 2 main events. That works. Okay, that sounds honest.
Okay.
So
So you're gonna do 2 Twitter spaces before the event.
before,
And you,
yeah, and then so we'll have 2 big events and 2 Twitter spaces
Yes.
before each one of those. That would actually work out really well.
okay.
And then it gives
Okay.
us a better spacing rather than doing every single month. Oh, here comes another Yoram, you guys. Do you see that? Here's another Yoram.
Yes, another one.
Here's another Yoram. I think he sent out his invite. We'll rename this Yoram to Dimitri. Hey Dimitri, welcome.
Yeah, it looks like it's Dimitri's profile.
It is definitely. It was like Bruno's voice.
Hey,
in your.
Dimitri.
Yeah. Hmm.
Hey, what is the proposal that we're working on now, or working from? You guys mentioned the proposal.
This was something we put in Fund 7.
Yes, it's community, Cardano4Climate community events. I can share it in chat.
Thanks.
And then
And
we
there's
also
another
have the hub.
community. Yes, community hub. I'm gonna share that in chat as well. Oh shit! I'm sending it to Newman. How did that happen?
Yeah,
So-
that was me. I didn't know if my chats to everyone go to my breakout room or the whole group. So
It goes to just the
Yeah.
group, just the
breakout room.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Good.
And that's the funny thing
then-
too. As soon as you start replying to somebody, you don't go back to everybody. You're replying back to that person. So
Yes. Yeah, you have to change it.
that's okay. We can do it.
So-
We can manage it. And I'm
The
gonna
hub, I think that the hub is okay. The community hub proposal is pretty easy to understand, like the subscriptions and web hosting. I paid Simon's Zoom account out of that budget, and then
Yeah.
the other 3. There's a remuneration 3 times 3 times.
That was the
4,
UBI.
6, 5.
I gotta plug.
Yes,
I gotta plug my
that was the
power in.
UPI. What was the other items? Speed of seed fund for C4C determined project and event incentives. C4C very 3.
Sorry,
Just wait for
Andre.
me.
All right.
No.
I
Yes.
have to plug in my power or it's gonna die really, really fast. Hang on.
Okay.
No, it's fine.
Oh, and so are we talking? Just so that I can get up to speed. I'm sorry, I had to break out of the room. It is wild how many events that happen simultaneously. I'm interested in whatever you guys are talking about because I love you all, and but I'm particularly interested in that tokenomics thing. I've made it a commitment to do that, and I'm trying to focus on that. So I'm trying to walk directly towards that. Is that what we're talking about now, or
It
should I
is
be
in a
another
way.
place?
It is in a way, and the reason we put these together was because it's task and it has to do with divvying up stuff. You know,
Right,
so
right.
that's why we decided to put these in together. If you want to take off for a little bit to a different room, Newman, and then how do we catch you?
No, I like it. I like it here. This is a great. I just met George. I know Andre and you guys. So and it is. I do see the relation now. I get it. So as long as I'm not missing the big conversation
and
and some other fear of missing out.
It's related because it's the stuff that we do and it's how do we reward it. We've gone through many months of volunteering and not getting paid for it. Now we have a little bit to pay for it. We still have to figure out how to do that, to navigate that and make that work. So
okay, good. I'm in the right spot. Okay, cool.
Okay, perfect. So, and I'll share my screen on the, I think this is it. If that's helpful, community events. Is that the one that you were talking about, Andre?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. The snail, the Fibonacci. Oh, what a great proposal. Who wrote this? Oh, how beautiful. This was such hard work. I didn't do any proposal writing in Fund 8. I'm done with this because this was really hard. And holy cow, that's a long proposal. I don't know how people read through it. Okay, so each weekly meeting, and that's the meetup, because we have multiple core team meetings. That's the other thing. We have multiple core team meetings that we don't, monthly event actually should include the planning meetings and the other things that we do as well. So that's something that definitely has to come be calculated in. Because the core team meeting, there's going to be so there's weekly core team meetings that deal with the meetup. And there's weekly event planning meetings that deal with the events. So those should definitely be factored in there. Dimitri, how can I help you, sir?
Just wanted to get that link to the document where we put our impact related proposals. You shared it yesterday. I couldn't take it yesterday.
Impact related proposals in the core team. Do you, in the Telegram, you mean?
No, a couple of times you shared a link where you wanted us to include for purposes of, for people to be aware of for voting, the proposals relating to environment, impact, social projects, that link. So I started doing it, but it was so detailed that I couldn't do more than one.
Okay,
so I just placed the link also. So I want to add.
Yeah, so how about we catch, can we do that on Telegram after? Because Andre, oh my goodness, he's been so terribly patient with me. I have avoided accounting like the plague. And I'm feeling that I must be pinned down to do this. So Dimitri, I'm putting a note on that, link to document for Dimitri. Okay, got it. Okay, Andre. So back to sharing the screen.
I think you know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna look at the agendas of. Is the agendas on the Google Drive?
Yes, and do you have access to it? Okay, you do.
I think I do. I've got a Google Drive shortcut, but I'll just ask for it. If I can't find it. I'm going to look at all the agendas. I'm going to go through the agendas, then I'm going to look at the notes. And then I'll work something out. And okay, you know, I'll
Andre,
say,
that's a terrible
way this person, this. And then I'll create something and then you just give me feedback. Would that work?
It's a terrible, sorry, I've got really bad internet. Everybody else here, Andre, okay? Okay, good. So hopefully the recording worked. So we have the folder in our C4C drive for accounting, the one with all the agendas that we started. Oh, my internet is so terribly slow. I'm going to shut this one down, see if that helps. And I'm going to keep watching your faces to make sure you don't freeze on me. Oh, look at that. Everything shut down. Okay. That's okay. Let's see. I'm reading my messages.
Just drop me the link in Telegram, but
So
I'll work
what
on
it
something.
is there's events and meetings, and then we have, those are broken up into core meeting, event meeting,
Yes.
and others.
And
See, now this work that you're doing on our behalf, is that getting covered by something? Because that's like me giving you a box of files and saying, here, you sort them out.
yeah.
It's not, is it?
No, but it's fine. I'll do it. I suppose I'll learn something out of it as well. You know, if I, it's fine. Don't worry. We have a proposal in. We're gonna get, if we get funded ideas, we do this work for free. The treasury work, we do it for free to projects. So
Okay, if you get
it's not-
funded, right?
Yeah.
Can you
If we don't get
please,
funded, some people, there are 2 or 3 people that will still pay us.
okay, so this is
They've
important to
set
know.
money aside for us.
Yeah, can you drop the link into your proposal for one? And this is also one of those proposals that need to be pointed out in our pick list, because it's all interrelated, you know, in doing this kind of stuff. So before you having to dig through all these things, how can I help you? Because I could actually organize that information for you instead of you having to go sort through it all. The other thing is some of the notes might not have been really clear, or attendance, somebody forgot to do those. So can we,
I'm gonna have a look at them this weekend. Then I'll if I've got questions, I'll bring them to you.
Okay.
And then we can take it from there.
No, I'm waiting.
So I have got really bad internet.
That proposal I dropped.
Can you hear me, guys?
Proposal.
Just a sec. Go ahead, Andre. Just 2 seconds, Simon.
Yeah, I just wanted to say the proposal I dropped is it's quite a huge amount, but we're gonna onboard people, and it's also to cover us for about 6 months, because we already have like 20 proposals that we're doing work for. So, and we're busy onboarding one guy. So, and it's also, we have to pay developers to help us build something.
Can you drop your can you drop your email into the chat, and then I'll give you then that way I can give you access to that link.
Yes.
And then I'll do that afterwards, because I think what's happening to me is I cannot open up more things. Thank you. Save chat. Okay. So we'll get that sorted out this week. I'll let you take a look at that. If you set something up, you know, that I can help you fill out. Otherwise, I can go and create a spreadsheet, but I think you are way better at this than I am. So, yeah.
Yes, I'll create something, and then you can just give me feedback.
Okay.
And then the hub proposal, we're gonna have to talk about that. We can talk about it tomorrow or on Friday. I think there will be, because I think you suggested we talk about it on Friday as well.
Your proposal for?
No, just the allocation of, or how to pay people in C4C.
Okay, because you'll be part of
that one, the Gimbal.
Okay, perfect. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Simon, what did you have to say?
Oh, no, nothing. You said I clapped, but I was just waving.
Oh, I thought you were raising your hands or talking or something. My internet's being kind of buggy right now. Okay, so yeah, it's all interrelated. This figuring out how we reward ourselves, how we make it fair, how we determine tasks. It's going to be really quite an interesting challenge. and maybe even in our Gimbal token PBL, that we can actually take two different routes, you know, one more flexible and one more, you know, specific, and see if we can combine those and paint them together. So yeah, Newman, you have questions about the tokenomic? George, you know, like Simon and myself have been in this course with James for what, 10, 12 weeks? It's been quite a while. And so we've been following it along, and there was one point, you know, where can we add anybody else? And it's like, no, we're already gelling as a group. We're making these value statements. It would be really hard to bring other people in. So we went through this, got this idea, and because it's not just C4C, it has to do with these other groups. It's really hard to say, hey, can we bring George and Newman and Andre into this main group? It would be really confusing. So it's a bit of a split. We've got a Discord channel in that course so that we can keep everybody else in the loop with what we're doing with C4C. We've got our own group that we're trying to create our own experiment with, that's a part of a bigger experiment. So does that make any sense?
Yeah, basically, I think that it's the way I understand it, and just so that I can rephrase it, is that you started this course with Gimbal Labs, and as a part of this course, you're sort of bringing it back to your group.
Yeah.
And then you want us to sort of brainstorm or figure out how, and you're going to bring us on board into the C4C tokenomics ecosystem, circular economy, local currency, those type of things. Those are areas that I'm very interested in, and I think they will be key to determining the next paradigm of work and collaboration. So however I can help you do that is what I want to do. So you can guide me. You can also say, I don't know, I'm ready for brainstorming, I want your random ideas, but I'm here to listen to you, ask you, how can I help you?
Oh, sweet. So with that being said, the cool thing is that some of these, so there's a big group, big experiment, and we have these smaller groups. Little Fish is one of them, C4C is another one, tokenomics is another one, PR and communication is another one. Turning this material that we've collected into a course to teach others about what we've learned is another group. And what we're doing is we're allocating this first very large, sorry, I'm going to just mute you, Dimitri. This very large amount of gimbals, and we don't know what we're going to get. And the idea is that we work with these the whole idea with the Gimbal token was, how do we support and encourage open source development? That was what this started out with. And then it's turned into something else. We can have our own mission statement, what we want to encourage to. So that's the idea. I'm sorry, I'm kind of a bit of a rambler right now. Simon, did I capture any of that correctly, or?
Sorry, I was distracted for a minute.
Okay, that's okay. And Megan, thank you for coming. Are you able to talk today? Maybe you want to try?
I kind of can, but I'm still at work, so I just try to minimize my chatting. Also, because like what happened with me and Yoram when he was trying to answer my questions about voting, every 3 minutes or so I'll be in the middle of talking, and then I get a work call, and so it's just the managing dealing with work. Yes, okay. Exactly.
Okay, and are you interested in the Gimbal token PBL? What brought you to this room?
The fact that Yoram was taking a little bit of rest before town hall, and so I hopped over to something that had people. So I figured I would join a group that had people and see if I could learn a little bit more.
Awesome, that's it. So, you know, Cardano4Climate, we've been operating as a volunteer on a volunteer basis for quite a while, and there's so much work that gets done, and it's not on any kind of spreadsheet or anything like that. How do we actually incentivize, recognize, and build up our community. That's what we're trying to do with this Gimbal token PBL. We could also, I've asked the tokenomics group if we could actually have our own quasi token that we could use within our own circle economy. And then if somebody wants to turn it into a gimbal to use it outside of the Cardano for Climate community, they have that option. So rather than pegging this token, whatever, if that's possible, to the US dollar value, we're going to peg it to a gimbal. And then possibly, and what the value of a gimbal is, it is undetermined right now. We did come up yesterday. I made a comment about a tomato seed being worth one gimbal, and James said it. He says, "There we are. We've got the value of our gimbal token now to one tomato seed," which in my mind is valuable because I have tomato seeds that are 20 years old. So when those germinate, they're very valuable. But anyways, what it becomes, we don't know at this point. So maybe we'll field some questions for the next 10 minutes and then 5-10 minutes and then head out, take a break.
I would really not like to peg, or if you create a token, I would really not like to peg it onto the Gimbal token. As I mean, in
this experiment, in this experiment, we need to peg it to the Gimbal token, so that because this is part of that experiment. If we do after we do this experiment, we might decide, hey, we do need our own token, or we don't, right?
Why don't we just use the Gimbal token then?
Because somebody said it in the Miro board. They said, what about people that don't know how to use ADA, or they're just brand new? A lot of the people in the Cardano for Climate community are mushroom farmers. They're into farming, regenerative agriculture, and this whole idea of, wherever Tyler is, we're pointing to Tyler, right, on the screen. And they may not be even familiar with the gimbal. And if we have that gimbal and it becomes, we could call it a mushroom token, whatever, right? I love this. So not distracting at all, Tyler, but I really want to see what you're doing. And this guy, Megan, Tyler, anytime he can, he tries to bring mushrooms into the conversation because he's a mushroom farmer. Yeah, this is it. And this is why I love him so much. So let's talk about that though. We can talk, discuss, do we want to put it to a gimbal, or do we want to have our own that says this token is part of our community? Because if we start having gimbals come in for things, and it's like, well, yeah, I don't know. It feels like it may be more confusing for our community to have gimbals in. If we can do our own and then peg it to a value once we figure out what the value of gimbals might be on the outside, then somebody can work in our community and go, hey, I do want to use some gimbals now. I'm going to take whatever token we have that I've been gathering, and I'm going to trade it into gimbals now, and I'm going to use it outside this ecosystem. So I've got
a very basic question that maybe you can answer from what you guys have been learning is, I mean, we just hear about so many tokens, and so what is the possibility of like slowly accumulating a basket of different digital assets within our community? Because I mean, without knowing, I'd love to hear more about, from Simon, why he thinks that not going this gimbal token route is, there's so much learning. I really, like Newman, I really can't wait to learn a lot of that stuff from you guys secondhand. But how do we remain open? Like, how much flexibility do we have to trade things? How can we ensure that, the value that you guys are bringing to us through Gimbal Labs, returns some value to them? I can think of a lot of things. I can, there's stable coins that are based on like actual soil, coming through projects that we're funding and working on in our community and things like that. I mean, a lot of stuff, a lot of places to go with it. But yeah, like, is that a possibility to like start having a basket that people can invest in or working towards something like that?
Well, think of it as a farmer. You know, I'm going to go and say, okay, I've just harvested a whole bunch of tomatoes, and I've got some great cantaloupe and a really amazing Armenian cucumber. I go to Tyler and he's got these fantastic mushrooms, you know, that I can add to my squash and make this beautiful soup. This is how we work in this circle economy as farmers, as us type of people, right? This is the way that we think, and it has nothing to do with the US dollar in this case. Tyler and I would go, I'd hand him a tomato that in the market would cost X number of dollars, but this tomato comes from my husband's brother-in-law who's passed away. It's a 20-year-old seed. It's 1 out of 30 seeds that germinated, and it's amazing taste. The value of this tomato is different than what you buy in a grocery store that doesn't taste like anything, that looks like a tomato, but I'm not sure what it is. So, you know, we place our own value on our things. And I'd really love it to see, you know, if we could work that out, that, you know, Simon, you know, for you and I to meet, I want you and I to meet, you know, even. I'm going to go to, I'm going to talk to Gorbash. You know, I might have to say, okay, I'm going to work for 4 hours in order to talk to Dor for an hour, you know, because of his value, whatever. We have to be able to decide these things ourselves. Yeah. Newman.
It seems like the drawback of having multiple tokens and coins, pegged currencies, different currencies, is tooling and the ease of exchanging. And you know, maybe Simon can say, but I can just sort of, like, the initial sort of problem is like the problem that we had in the earlier civilizations. They say, well, my pigs versus your chickens, and then your chickens versus eggs, and all the things. And I think the agrarian model is important, but the benefit of the new system is that we have automated markets and tooling that says, okay, there's a list because they made an exchange, and it just seems like the opportunity for making that problem go away or be diminished. That's just my thought on them.
Yeah,
and I don't have a real sense of like, oh, it should be this or that. But I do think that the tooling and the way to like get baskets, sort of like in a game when you run into like a you know, you go to the marketplace and you can exchange individually versus having a centralized service. But and that decentralized service is somehow connected to reality, meaning the reality of former trades. For instance, that a meeting with Dor is worth 1 hour of that time is worth 4 hours of my time, and it's established that because of former transactions in the network.
Yeah, and it can get very complicated really quickly, can't it? Right? And so the thing is that right now Gimbals don't have a pegged value to them. They may become really, really worthwhile. The whole idea though is that and James, his heart is that it's not, you're not collecting Gimbals to get rich. You're not hoarding them and holding on to them in order for them to become this huge value. What we want to see these tokens happen is that there's a lot of transactions, a lot of movement, and a lot of balancing things out between us. And if I'm talking with you, Newman, you and I are going to decide a fair trade. And whether that changes the market or anything like that, I don't even want to think about that. But I want to know that at the end of the day, you and I have made this transaction and I feel balanced. I feel recognized. I got what I needed and you got what you needed, whatever that was. And that's way different than what we do right now. We go to work and our wage is set at this, and we go home and we go, I hate my job. You know, I didn't feel valued today. I didn't get what I needed. So maybe we can change that a little bit. I don't know. Simon, you've got your hand up. Thanks.
Actually, I'm a bit on the opposite view. I mean, of course, there's a problem with, you know, being an employee, and, you know, just I think the wages are way too low, and also, you know, I mean, I don't know in any other countries, but in Austria, our progressive tax is way too flat. You pay 50% with, I don't know, 3 or 4K a month, and I think even though 3 or 4K sounds a lot to us, in the greater scheme of things, it's not. And yeah, as also about tokenomics. I mean, what we're building here is really, we're building with every token, we're building our own marketplace, or like you could say our own currency in the ADA metaverse. And Gimbal Labs is like, we have this like Gimbal Labs Nation, and they maybe they sell some services, or like some programming that is maybe interesting. What Tyler was asking.
See that, and that's where it might get complicated with people. If we have just the value to a gimbal, it's like, well, what do I use this gimbal for? Well, we're going to be able to use it in the dandelion, or we're going to be able to use it here. That may not matter to anybody. You know, it may not matter to a great portion of the people in this community. Some will want that. Some that know how valuable Gimbal Labs is and all their services, they're going to want to know that an hour of James is 10,000 gimbals. They want to know, you know, I want to know that, and I would give him that value because he is so valuable. But see, if we complicate that, I'd like to see it sort of simpler for our community. And in talking about tokens and baskets, maybe Tyler or somebody brought this up. This token that we do will not go between wallets. Whatever we're doing is going to be off chain for the first bit, because to be on chain costs ADA for transaction fees. And this experiment would be getting very, very expensive to begin with right off the bat. So that's one thing that we do. So whatever we're doing is basically a play token. And we're going to start trying to figure out how to use that, how to, Town Hall is on now. So anybody that wants to leave now, please feel free to go. I'm going to be skipping out today. I'll carry on here for a little bit. But yes, please feel free to check out. So
Melanie?
Yes.
I wanted to just, well, actually, you know what, maybe I think I forgot what I wanted to say now. You kind of interrupted me.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, let me vamp for a bit, because I do really want Simon to collect his thought again, because I do think that there are pitfalls to creating complexity, and maybe that's what Melanie is talking about. So the idea of creating more things, I'm generally against. Like what Melanie said, is it's like, no, say less, say no to more. It's like no more stuff. But for some reason, I do think that the computers and the networks that we have now are meant for this complexity. It's like that's their favorite thing to do, is to manage this complexity and make it, you know, format it for us, and that they can do it without bias and sort of weirdness and personal motivations. It's like all the computer wants to do is just take numbers and smash them together and put out new numbers. And so I'm curious if Simon has, like, because it's up to us to sort of talk to our future selves and say, ah, man, that's where we went wrong. and I've been programmed. I'm
okay, Newman, we're going to have to check to make sure you're human. What's that test now?
Voight-Kampff test from Blade Runner. I'm always afraid. No. I'm not. I think I'm human. But go ahead, Simon. I'm really just vamping for you to get ready for your thought.
Thanks, Newman. What I wanted to say was actually that token can also have an advantage, because if you're using ADA right now, everything is going to be settled on the chain, and that comes with a cost. So if you take a side chain and you take a token from there, you can make, I don't know how many transactions you want, and then at the end of all those transactions, you can settle it on the chain. You can do it faster. You can do it cheaper. So there's advantages to side chains as well. And yeah, of course, you're building, as I said, multiple markets for, I think, yeah, in this case for Gimbal Labs. Like if you think you will need some technical support for Cardano, or you need something programmed, I think buying some Gimbals, and of course you believe in Gimbal Labs and you believe that they will be around in 5 years or whenever you need that service. That absolutely makes sense to buy some Gimbals now when they're cheap, hopefully. But then the other way, the other thing is, of course, you could save your value in ADA. So basically, it's really just investing in what you believe in and which market you think will succeed.
I guess for me, the foundation was finding out what we need to reward and then putting a value on it afterwards. But if we try and figure out this top-down value, like, you know, we got to figure out the tokenomics, we got to figure out the pegging this, we got to figure out all this mechanism, we may miss what's at the core of what I hope to see in this group would be that we recognize and we build up our community. We have a system in place that people come, they go home, they say, I love being at Cardano4Climate. I feel recognized, I can participate, and people that come and go, they can still participate as they can. But then just whatever it is that this builds up, recognize and build up our community. This is it. How many people show up here and they say, I don't, you know, nobody knows who I am. You know who I am because I've been around enough. If I had, you know, whatever token in my wallet or lots of exchanges, you'd know that I've been here for a long time. There's all sorts of other ways we can recognize and build up our community. And maybe we do both. Maybe we do a token experiment, a virtual token experiment called a heartbeat or whatever, and a Gimbal token. And people can choose what they want to do rather than go through the complication of, well, how do I calculate this heartbeat token compared to a Gimbal token? You know, so maybe we do a side experiment in this. I'm just concerned that people coming in here that have no idea about Gimbal Labs or bridge builders or Cardano After Dark or all these other ways that they could use it, that it complicates what we're actually trying to do within our own little circle. So yeah, I think there's a chat going on here. And I'll have to read it afterwards because I can't do both. Yes.
I think there are going to be simple things like using it for breakout rooms in the town, or some more common stuff that people know about where they can use these gimbals. And as they get familiar with the system, they'll start exploring the other
And how
areas.
about just signing into Telegram and reading up on what's going on? That has no task that does anything except it tells me that that person is checking in with the community. They're filling their brain with what's going on because they want to be here. I know there's some chats I'm involved in and they've got 478 messages. I go right down to the bottom and I'm not reading that, right? It's too much. But you know, if you're involved and you've filled your brain with information and and it as a connector, it's important. If you're doing something else, Newman, you just came up with an idea.
Yeah, and yeah, I like this actually. Now I'm beginning to see the video is important. The value, so that has a value. Like if you're going to fill your brain up with those 400 messages, that has a value. And what's interesting to me, and this goes back to this point, that the computer knows this. So there is a little digital dust that's in there that if we could get access to it. Now, this, you know, but the point is that these things are in some ledger. So it's sort of interoperable. Like if the tool that we use can sort of show that what we've done. And so it's beginning to know like what are actual tasks and what is valuable, and then recognize it. Go ahead.
I know of a tool. I'm gonna try and find it that tracks. You set up the tool, install it on your PC, and it tracks how much time you spend on this website, how much time you spend in Telegram. I don't know if it tracks the channels you spend time in, but I have used a tool like that in the past. I'll try and find out what it is, and maybe we can try using that.
So that would be something. It almost feels like a game, and it'd be kind of fun to participate in it if that's what you want to do. My God, I don't want to do that. Like for myself, I definitely don't want to go that route and know all that stuff. For myself, I just want to get it done, you know, but there's people that love to do this. And this is the cool thing about this community is, sorry, I'm really cold, so I'm kind of wrapping up and I'm wearing my real ratty sweater. So it's like I might start shivering soon. I didn't put on my wood fire this morning, and I'm hoping that there's enough sun that'll warm up in here. We can take this in all these different directions. That's the freedom in this group to be able to do that. You say Andre and Newman are joining forces, and they're going to figure out how to track our community involvement, you know, or what we're doing online and how much of it relates to Cardano4Climate. You know, that's awesome. And then we can figure that out and see. The thing is that we've only got maybe a month, you know, that this experiment will go on. You can begin what you're doing and try and get it at a high level and see how we can use it, play with it. And then, you know, your work should get rewarded, right? Which is on top. Go ahead, Newman. Oh, George, you want to say something? Let's George speak.
Go ahead. Yep.
Sorry, one more thought on that. Like from the interaction perspective, for example, we have 5 authors in this meeting, in this section. And so if each of us has, for example, 100 gimbals to start, and I say, okay, of that, I can distribute based on the communication and the exchanges we had and what learnings I can distribute, say, okay, X to Melanie, Y to Newman, Simon, and at the end, I have distributed everything. That could be one rule, say you give out everything. Whatever you get back from the team is different. So you are giving whatever you have, and whatever you are getting back is saying what you have given to the community, kind of.
It's a challenge, isn't it? Because, you know, you end up receiving something from it. So I look at this and I think, George, you've been really quiet this whole time, right? I know you now, you know, that you're thinking this and you're processing this whole information. And somebody that would reward the extrovert because they spoke up the most would not recognize how valuable your input just was, right? So there is this point of giving to each other, maybe what we've received out of it, and recognizing it. Thank you for, you know, your contribution. This helps me balance out what I got. But then there's also got to be a taking that says, yeah, I'm really shy. I don't speak up, but I've been evaluating this whole situation. And now I know I'm going to connect that to this project, and this project. I'm going to go and use this in my life. you know, there would be that where you're collecting information for who you are and using it somewhere else. So sometimes we put on these glasses, you know, of a way to reward things. And if we could just sort of take those off and say, how do we balance this all out? I don't know. I don't have the answers. Let's try that though. Yeah.
I thought the other day, I don't know if this is a stupid idea, but imagine you just keep all the gimbals in one place. And if someone needs to do something, they just take out of the pot and go do it.
Super
just leave it all in
simple.
one place.
Super simple.
Yes. Then you
Take
don't have to
take
track
what you
anything.
need. Yeah. So maybe we
Yes,
don't
yes,
do
yes.
that with the gimbals though. Maybe we do that with our own virtual token and just say these are, like, I think of this heartbeat token. There's only so many heartbeats a person has within their life. A whale has so many heartbeats. Trees have heartbeats. They talk about that now, where they're moving the fluids up and down their body, up and down their trunks. But you know, if we could base it on something else that's limited, that we really value. George, you could say that I want to create my token is, we can come up with something that's of value to us, separate from a US dollar, separate from a gimbal, and we can take what we need and see. Because, you know, the thing about crypto is that you can create, I believe you can create a token and it can keep minting itself. It can keep growing like a tomato seed. So we have this opportunity, and it doesn't cost us anything unless it's you know, specifically on the blockchain, and it's starting to cost us ADA. But it doesn't cost us anything to experiment in this place and say, it'll cost us our time and energy and things we could have been doing elsewhere. But maybe we do have an experiment which just says, okay, you've showed up. How much did you do in Cardano for Climate? You know, how do you feel? What do you need today to be rewarded? This is the maximum heartbeats you can get per day. Take what you need. It's kind of scary, isn't it? That means
yeah.
we have to trust everybody else.
To that, we trust up until their sort of daily allotments. So
Yeah.
some, you know, and that it's publicly recorded. One idea that I had, because I'm up here in farm country in the Catskill Mountains, and they have these, well, I mean, there's like farmers markets and people there and grocery stores, but they also have these really cool, and my friends from New York City just love this, that they have these unattended farm stands where you just go and put money in the collection box.
Simon and everybody else, you've never heard of these, but yeah, they're a thing all over the world. Yeah, where you have a market stand. Yeah.
Yeah, and that metaphor might be something to sort of like tell folks. I think that might fit this. It's just like, okay, you know, it requires responsibility and discipline to just not go in and do it. And maybe sometimes people come in and take more and not pay less or whatever. But it's the farmers are willing to do that. So I don't know, I just want to put that metaphor out there.
So sometimes they might clean out the stand, but there's a video camera watching who does it over and over again, because this is transparent, right? Yeah. If I start doing that, you know that I'm actually a kleptomaniac, right? You know, that there's something deep, dark about me. You know, if somebody shows up in our community and starts doing this, they need to do it for a reason. And we could maybe, that's a behavior that may need to be explored. And it's like, why are you starving? Are you starving for recognition? All these things could end up giving us some amazing information. Newman, I'm so thankful that you're here, because I totally forgot about these. Andre, do you know what he's talking about, this stand? Or
yes,
Simon?
yes. Yeah. Yes.
Simon, do you know, have
But
you ever,
maybe that's,
yeah,
I think maybe that's the approach we need to take.
hmm.
I think
Or
we'll
take
try.
what you need and leave the rest. You know.
And the other thing is
the
that
phrase.
people can actually offer their services, right? This is their fruit of their labor, right?
Now I'm beginning to get the visual of it. It's just you come in and you put your service or your tokens, and how would that work? And then you could take it and pay for what you want for it. Or here's the suggested donation. Yeah.
Well, you can decide.
I think it's a way to do it. Yeah.
You could also decide yourself and just say, look, this is a tomato. You could explain that why this tomato is valuable and create the story behind it. And, you know, that increases the value of it, you know, compared to the store-bought tomato beside it, you know. So you could set your limits and just say, look, you're welcome to take this tomato for free. This is what I would actually like to have for it, but recognize that it could be taken or stolen or whatever, but recognize that you also feel like to balance this tomato growing service that I have, this is what I would like. Yeah. We could kind of have some fun with this.
Yeah, sometimes it
Well,
is like feeding forward to like even the tomato seed, we take it and we plant it and we say, okay, next time I'm going to bring back 20 more seeds for the next season. So it is a continuation of the thread too. So it doesn't stop there. It kind of continues.
Absolutely. And this is what we want to have, is take what we have and make it sustainable, rather than think from this, well, we only have X number of tokens, we better hoard these until they're of value so that I can retire, right?
No.
Yeah, I do want to retire eventually, but
No.
and maybe it will be on my tomato seeds. I don't know, but yeah. So we've gone a little bit longer than.
Yeah.
And maybe we wrap it up, and I'll share this in the Gimbal token PBL. Honestly, when I watch these over again, I double speed them unless somebody speaks really fast, and it seems to go pretty good. But I will work on, I'm going to download this, and once I'm done that, if anybody has some thoughts that they want to add to the description, you can either share it to me through Telegram, or you can add it to the comments, tell me they're there, and then I can add them into the description. Because typically what I'll do is I'll do the upload, I'll do the agenda, I'll try and get some information from the meeting that we've had, but it's from my perspective, and that taints this information. So if other people add their perspective, I'll add that as well. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah, because I translate this information. It fits, and there's lots of it that I don't see and I miss. This felt good though, you guys. Thank you so much for this. I appreciate it. Really do.
Thank you.
And Simon will figure out how to do the gimbals too, right? And my cat just went up on the counter.
Yeah, I think I've just talked. I'm writing this rundown on the side. I'm sorry for that, but we had something important to talk about. And one thing.
Sorry.
You said, one thing. I think that they did quite the incredible thing already, because they got quite a few quite reputable people and projects from Catalyst into this project.
I did get her off the counter.
And they're all now kind of, they're putting their energy and their also a little bit their reputation at stake, and they're trying to make this this Gimbal token a reality. And I think basically, if we can get the Gimbal token being used in the Catalyst ecosystem and get people for this to be socially acceptable, it's going to be kind of inevitable that we're going to see tooling and services built on top of that.
So this fruit stand idea, can we have gimbals sitting there? You know, X number of gimbals, you know, and someone part of the community, they're there available, only so many per day. We don't put all our gimbals on the table at once, but we have them out and just say, if you need gimbals, here they are. And what will you trade in exchange for it? And maybe they put in, they says, well, I have time to upload a YouTube video, or I uploaded a YouTube video, and, you know, it will be a bit of an interesting record keeping, because a fruit stand simple, you know, you take the tomato, you leave the change, you know, there's going to be some complication in this, but yeah.
It's almost like a mini catalyst. You write like a little proposal to get money.
You can, let's keep it simple though.
But
like,
not,
yeah,
like,
because
yeah.
writing those proposals drained a good chunk of my life, and yes. So, but maybe there's, let's say a minimum requirement is helpful. It's not required. So it's not a minimum required. Something is helpful, but it's not required. And especially, you know, new people that might feel like, oh, I don't know if I can actually take this. Is this fair? Can I do this? And then they can write a little note somehow and say, this is what I did. This is how, and this is, you know, there could be a place for stories. How did this make the person feel? Do they feel included? All of a sudden, like, I love this community. This is the only one I've signed out of every other Catalyst community, and I'm only in Cardano4Climate. You know, it has all my focus or something, right? You know, maybe there's some place that we can record the effect that this transaction has on people.
Yeah, and I would like to use GitHub for that. What I showed you yesterday.
Yeah, so you can use
project.
GitHub. Like, there's definitely no reason you can't. What we will have to do is have something accessible and GitHub. We have to do both, because there will be people that don't use GitHub, and they need to just have something like that they're familiar with, Word documents or Google or something accessible. If they already know GitHub, and what you may end up having to do is have a little course for somebody and prove, just say, you know, this is a GitHub way to track this, and you've got that on that fruit stand. Track your, because when we ask people for this input, we need to balance out that equation too, right?
Yeah, we can even have like multiple, meaning one is fruit stand next to the GitHub, one is next to the Telegram, one is next to the Discord, one is in our meetings. So
One is a game.
It doesn't, yeah, it doesn't have to be one space defined. It can be based on what is happening in that space.
Exactly.
And then you gotta start with something.
Yeah, and then take the leader. You want to lead a GitHub experiment within Cardano4Climate, you're in charge of it. Run with it and offer it to people, show it to people and the value of it, and say, look, this, you know, sell them. We're going to be not just one fruit stand, we're going to be a multiple market, you know, and not to compete with each other, but to recognize that we have a connection with certain people, certain customers. We're not competing for the resources we have are unlimited, and we don't want to, but I don't want to assume that somebody is going to figure out this garden fruit stand thing when they're used to games, virtual games, and this makes no sense to them. I would be trying to mold them into something they're not. And Simon, to say to you, no, can't do GitHub. we have to go this way. That's not fair, right? You run with this. And remember, I'm always going to be resistant for some stupid reason until I spend enough time beside you in the fruit stand marketplace to realize, oh my God, why didn't I see that before, right? But and then you can also learn something from the way that I do it, the way I sell my tomatoes. But I think that it's really important that we recognize there's going to be a Spanish market, and we're going to be, a lot of us will be right out of this and don't understand it at all. A mushroom guy that, oh my God, he keeps saying these Latin names. What the heck is that? But we'll learn something from each other because it's a safe space and we're not in competition. Newman.
I'm really advocating for GitHub only because I think it is such an open tool that, and it's also easy to use. I think it is going to be harder to, in the long run, to use a sheet or some other thing. I mean, we've got to use sheets as well, but for other things, for the link that I shared in the chat, if you guys want to see that, this is really we're going to pre-prepare the tasks that have to be done. So, I mean, we have a proposal, right? And there we define what we need to do. So we just need to, as a core group or like internally, we have to define those tasks. They're in an Excel sheet as well, of course. And then we put them onto GitHub, and people that want to do the task, they just go onto this project board and they click, oh, I did the recording of the video. And then when they're done with recording and they do the upload, oh, well, now I've done the upload, click, and they've done it. And then they send the link to marketing to whoever is going to market that thing. And another click, sorry, first you got to do it, put it into progress. So everyone knows someone is working already on that, right? Mm-hmm. And when all three things are done, they go into done.
And then you also need to reward the person that actually goes through that process, right? But even actually goes into GitHub and does this, because that takes their time, right? That's something go ahead, Andre.
Yeah, there are ways to automate that, but it's you need to find people who knows. You can use GitHub Actions, and you can bring information from Google Forms and
so
send it to GitHub.
This is happening in Cardano Essential. They're working on a website where you can enter it. Anybody can enter it, and there's an automatic process between that entry and it gets recorded on GitHub. And we were starting to show that. So if this was something that came up at our core team meeting, if anybody wants to experiment with what Cardano Essential is doing, Yoram and I have the password for it. It's in beta, and we will ask permission for other people to jump on. I don't have the energy to do that right now, but if you're curious about how to take user interface to GitHub, this would be a great opportunity. Maybe Simon, you might want to take a look at that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I remember there was something about that. I just never followed up on it.
Yeah. Does it feel like you have the time for it though? Like energy? Because it'll take Yoram and I some effort to get you signed up, or Andre.
Who is doing Cardano Essentials?
It is from the Cardano Foundation, I believe. Yoram would be able to tell me more because I get everybody mixed up. I think Yoram mentioned it yesterday at the core team meeting, and I can't remember.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna talk to Yoram about it. I'm interested in it. I'm not probably I'm not gonna be putting all my effort and time into that. But if there is like some low-level tasks that I can do or like help out, or it helps us in any way, then of course.
Yeah, it's an experiment. Like right now it's in beta, so it would be, you know, possibly writing a blog, putting on information. It's kind of like a directory, you know, to what's going on in the Cardano ecosystem. That's sort of the idea. Set up differently, it's quite unique. Very, very clever. So, oh, she's keeping me warm now. Andre, what about you? Do you feel like inclined to?
I'm meeting someone next week. Andrew is building that system for us. If he builds that thing, it's gonna take a lot of weight off my shoulders. Then I might have time to.
Okay, so let's, it's there. It's there if you want. And
Yes.
Simon, if you talk to Yoram about it, that'd be awesome. It could be a possibility where we can figure out the process of how this happens, and we can do both. That would be really awesome. So anything else?
Yes.
Does this feel good? It feels like this is the time to finish, right? Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
Really awesome. It's
Yeah,
been
it's wonderful.
Yeah,
Yep.
thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
I helped you, and we have a recording of how I helped you escape town hall today. So just so you know, it's documented, it's real.
I still have to go.
Do-
Yeah, okay. And I'll stop the recording.